Hola, hola, and welcome to Spanish Black Metal, Balmog. First of all, I got to start with this name that I didn't even remember actually hearing their first album a few years ago. Maybe because it wasn't that great album, decentish kinda, but nothing special. What I remembered was that this was kind of a like Vatain like black metal from Spain, and that's it. When I just started a little bit deeper what I had actually been doing with the band. I missed totally the second album a couple of years ago, but now this band is back with third full length called Vacvvm with double U's. The thing is that I had quite low expectations, well, basically no expectations for the first time giving spin to this album because, like I said, I had no fresh recollection of the band whatsoever. But from the very first track, it became clear to me that this band is in fact great, at least at this point, and Vacvvm is clearly something that is not to be missed. So, without further ado, let's take a look at what this CD looks inside. So, once again, one of these CDs which says nothing basically on the cover. There's kind of the name is there, vaguely mentioned, so if you have a party going on in your apartment, play the CD, and the next time when I start drinking seriously, you might be a little like, oh, what this CD is, what jewel case it belongs. You will find it out, luckily. I was almost gonna judge it by saying that this is one of those annoying ones until I noticed myself. So here's the Balmog guys with this kind of artistic photo. This is the back, the jewel case, inlay paper. Here's another picture of the band with skulls, very cool, and the track list obviously, sorry, on this side. And this is more like a cardboardish rather than those kind of typical CD. So it kind of feels nice and it looks even nicer, probably to my eyes more than to the camera. As you can see, this is very nicely laid out in black, gray and white. Well, not so much white I guess, but you'll get the idea. Black and white way to put it, and not your typical black metal, yet it kinda feels totally correct to do this. So this looks nice and it totally sounds nice. So once again, this band is kinda doing the same stuff as Watain. Very sinister, very grim, very blackish overall sound. That in essence means that while the band is doing its mid-tempo or fast-tempo parts, it kind of reminds me of this Swedish black metal name in so many ways. They're just kind of clear but yet very evil sounding single notes that just fill the songs in a kind of a lead guitar way, but nothing like typical guitar leads. And be it fast or just mid-tempo, the band manages to have just enough variation with the songs that it doesn't become too monotone. That is to say that the overall, give it to one or two spins or even more, there is certain dynamics, kind of details that start to fill your mind when you think you've heard just most of it anyway. And in the middle of the CD there is this kind of ambient track which kind of acts as an intermezzo of sorts. So it kind of gives you the first chapter, so to speak, then it kind of has this way cooler, more atmospheric part where the ambience takes over, and then it moves back to the black metalish way of expressing their music, and it does it great. However, I would have hoped even more kind of for the lack of better word, catchiness. Because even though as good as these tracks are, in a kind of hypnotic way, I still felt like I cannot, actually separate one track from another. Not after these few spins I had with the CD. So while it's overall a good album, the one that separates it from great tracks is that or great albums I mean, is that there are no single tracks which just kind of rises above, so to speak. These are not like, okay, the track number 2, it's totally killer because it has this and that and blah blah blah. while I kind of hate to talk about hit songs and all that kind of a catchiness when it comes to black metal, it's clear why heavy metal bands or even thrash metal bands, well, even heavy, death and black metal bands had these kind of hit songs. There's a huge difference whether it's a, you know, In the Shadow of the Horns versus some other track by Dark Throne, or if you take Vacvvm, Jesus Taught versus other tracks on the album. So the kind of same kind of feeling is with this CD too, except that there are no tracks which are just top notch versus the rest of the album. So while it's clearly a good album, I totally hope that people will find Balmog after this one. I was kind of hoping that they would actually exceed at least with a couple of tracks, just to make a difference that this actually stands out from the crowd, or that those one or two single tracks would stand out the crowd and still keep the rest of the album feeling just overall good. Now this is overall good, totally, but without those killer tracks that would actually make stand out. Great production and basically no other things to bitch about except maybe the lack of power in the vocals. Now they seem to me a little bit kind of a backgroundish, kind of a weak versus the more straightforward or kind of a bestial, feral ways of that other bands are doing. So if Balmog could stand up in some ways, maybe those vocals could be a little more assaulting in a way. But like I said, minor things, really kind of details, and it shouldn't ruin your listening pleasure if you take a listen with this CD, which I totally recommend if you are at all into evil sounding black metal a la Vacvvm and the like. So check out Balmog, give these Spanish guys a chance, they have totally deserved it with this album. Thank you for watching the review, and as always, should you come across with this CD and like it, please drop me a line and tell me what you think. See you next time with another review. Rauta out.